How's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Well, thank you.
What if I told you the best card show deals have just as much to do with reading people as they do with your knowledge of cards? There's a rhythm to every card show. You can feel it the second you walk in. That low hum of deal making, the shuffle of binders, the flash of slabs under bright lights. But here's what most people miss. The best deals often don't go to the loudest or most flamboyant people in the room. They go to the ones who can read the room the most. Most people focus on what's in the showcases, but the real difference between a so-so show and a successful one can often come down to social cues. The little unspoken things that tell you when to engage, when to walk away, and when to continue pursuing a deal. Over time, I've realized there are 5 key skills that separate the showgoers who quietly make great deals from everyone else. They're not tricks, they're habits, and once you start practicing them, your whole card show experience changes. So today I'm going to try to break them down for you one by one. When you walk onto a show floor, there's an invisible language at play. Every table has its own vibe. Some dealers are chatty and open, whereas others are all business from the start. A common newbie mistake, though, is coming in too hot. Picture this. Someone leans over a case, jabbing fingers at a card, blurting out "what's your best?" before the dealer even glances up. Now compare that to someone who hangs back, flips through a few cards, asks a thoughtful question about the collection, and waits for the dealer to respond. You can almost feel the difference. The first approach, transactional, quick, tense, and a little pushy. The second, collaborative, calm, respectful, and it usually leads to a better interaction, maybe even a better deal. Before you say anything, take 5 seconds, look for eye contact, body language, even how the table's arranged. If a dealer's deep in conversation or face down in their phone, it's not your moment. That 5-second pause sets the tone for everything that follows. Once you've got the overall vibe, it's time to start reading the people behind the tables. Body language tells you almost everything you need to know. Crossed arms? That's a not right now. A relaxed stance, open shoulders, eye contact? That's your green light. When I spot a showcase I like, I don't dive in. I use what I call the slow approach. I'll scan the table, try to get a feel for the sorts of things the dealer might like. If I see an obscure card or set I'm familiar with, I might even make a comment about it in an effort to try to break the ice. Say the right thing, and you might even see a sort of breakthrough instantly. A nod, a slight lean forward, maybe a quick smile. It's quiet, but it changes everything. Now you're no longer just scanning cards. At the risk of making generalizations, I'd say the dealers at a show fall into 3 main types. There's the busy dealer who's juggling people and not looking up. Unless they have a unique card that you can't live without, it might be your cue to just move along. There's the bored dealer, the one who doesn't have anyone at his or her table and is ready for conversation. This can be great for building rapport even if they don't have anything you want this time around. And then there's the dealer who's clearly ready to deal. Calm, alert, and inviting eye contact. You can work with all 3 of these people, but that third one, that's really the one you want. And once you're in that zone, believe it or not, the way you first engage can set the tone for the rest of the conversation. By the time you're in this zone, you've already done the hard work of reading the room. You've identified the dealer's type, noticed body language, and maybe even made a small comment to test the waters. Phase 3 is about taking that initial connection and letting it grow naturally. This isn't about scripted lines or flattery, it's about paying attention and responding thoughtfully. Notice how the dealer reacts to what you say or do. Your job now is to guide the interaction subtly. Share observations about the cards, ask specific questions if the conversation allows, or tell a short story about your collection that relates to what's on the table. And that is obviously if time allows. You probably don't want to do this at a bigger show like Dallas or the National, but if there aren't other people waiting to talk to the dealer, these small contributions keep the conversation flowing without forcing it. The key is responsiveness. If the dealer seems interested, continue exploring details or sharing insights. If they pull back slightly, give them space. There's no rush. This phase is about collaboration, not pressure. A smooth, natural conversation builds trust, and that trust lays the foundation for a productive negotiation in Phase 4. By the end of this phase, you should be fully engaged, understood, and ready to make an offer, all while keeping the interaction comfortable and professional. And when it's time to put a number on the table, knowing how to pause and let the moment breathe can make all the difference. In a perfect world, you might walk up to a table, see a card you want that's marked with a reasonable price, and make a purchase without any sort of real back and forth. Well, we don't live in that world. So even if prices are already marked, there's a good chance you're going to have to end up making some sort of an offer. When that time comes, I've found it's best to just say your number and stop talking. Yeah, that silence might feel awkward, but you've got to fight the urge to fill it, because it gives the dealer a moment to think, to process, and sometimes that's all they need. A reasonable offer doesn't always need pressure. Letting it marinate for a few seconds can make the conversation flow more naturally moving forward. During that quiet moment, you might notice small reactions, a nod, a pause, a glance at the cards. These micro reactions aren't about trickery, they're just little signals that show the conversation is unfolding. And if the conversation feels like a dead end, don't try to force it. A simple appreciate it and stepping away gracefully keep things positive. You're showing that you respect their time and your own. And sometimes that clean exit does more than walking away. The dealer might come back later, re-engage, or even offer something better once they've had a moment to ponder. It's not just about buying a card. You're building micro relationships that make future deals easier in the process. And when things do come together, you'll notice the subtle signs that a deal's about to close. You'll know when it's happening. A nod, a half smile, maybe a hand reaching for a card. That's your green light. And even when a deal doesn't close, try your best to end it clean. You'd be surprised how often that leads to something next show. Always remember, card shows are communities. Your reputation travels faster than you do. Being the person who's calm, observant, and respectful gets remembered, and ultimately rewarded. At the end of the day, mastering social cues isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. The most successful collectors don't talk their way into deals, they listen their way into them. And now that I've guided you through all 5 phases, keep in mind these are general guidelines and might not apply perfectly to every situation. If you take one thing away from this segment, it's to try to get to a point of cooperation instead of manipulation. That will get you a long way over time, both in your collection in general and your relationships with other collectors. And that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.